Well, good morning and God bless you. It's good to be with you again today. And I have a really amazing word from the Lord that just jumped off the pages to me today. And I have to admit, it's a bit convicting, but it's also encouraging. Hang in there with me as I describe to you the $1,000,000 question of the day. Yesterday, if you saw my video, I was talking about the 5 stages of grieving that we go through and how we get to those processes to come to the completion of our grieving, which is acceptance. And today I want to tell you the $1,000,000 question, how you know that you've gotten to a place of acceptance, that you've gotten to a place of wholeness, and that you've gotten to a place of personal growth and change. And it comes from the story in the book of Acts from the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul was formerly known as Saul of Tarsus, and Saul was a man who was very adamantly opposed to the person of Jesus. He was a Jewish man, he was a very strict Jew, and he did not like that the disciples were preaching Jesus. And so he was actually out to get these disciples. He was adamantly opposed to the disciples and the work of the Christian faith and what Jesus was about. So in similar ways to some people today who are listening, maybe you're adamantly opposed to Donald Trump. Now, I'm not making a correlation between Donald Trump and Jesus, but what I'm saying is that many of you have been struggling and, as I said yesterday, grieving this process because you're not happy with the decision that's been made. But I'm going to take this as a spiritual analogy to talk to you about this guy, Paul, and how Paul not only became a follower of Jesus, but how he became someone who changed the world. And that is God's desire for each and every one of us, to play our role in changing the world. But how do we know that we've gotten through the cycle of healing to the place of change and transformation? And I believe this is a message for all people, not just for those who've been grieving, but this is really a question of maturity and growth. How do you know that you're in that place? Well, Saul of Tarsus was adamantly opposing it. He was angry. In Acts chapter 8, verse 3, it says, "But Saul began to destroy the church. Going from house to house, he dragged off both men and women and put them in prison." So you can see how angry this guy is, how upset he is, how much he's opposing this movement of God. In the book of Acts chapter 5, verses 38 and 39, I love this guy, Gamaliel. He's giving advice to people who were opposing Jesus. And he said this, "Therefore, in the present case, I advise you, leave these men alone. Let them go. For if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it will fail. But if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You will only find yourselves fighting against God." So at the end of the day, you'll come to realize that, you know what, my fighting is futile, my bargaining is not getting me anywhere, I need to move on to a place of acceptance. But how do you know that you've actually come not only to acceptance, but to a place of personal and spiritual growth? It's found in what happens with the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul, at the time named Saul, was literally knocked off of his high horse. He was really struck by Jesus. And when he was struck by Jesus, he came to the revelation that Jesus is Lord. He came to the reality and to the fact that it was true that Jesus Christ was the Lord. And so what did he do? It says this in Acts 9, verse 6. And here is where the $1,000,000 question is found. And this is the question to know if you're truly on the path of personal growth. Ready? Here it goes. Acts 9, verse 6. This is the New King James Version. "So he, trembling and astonished, said, 'Lord, what do you want me to do?'" That's it. It's the $1,000,000 question. Here's how you know that you've traversed over the season of grieving into a place of personal growth. You ask yourself this question, "Lord, what do you want me to do?" You see, each and every one of us have a role to play. Each and every one of us have a calling by God. By calling, I don't just mean a religious position. I don't mean a position of ministry. Each and every one of us are called every day to fulfill an obligation, to play a role in our part, in our families, in our societies, in the church, if you're a Christian, in the world. No matter who you are, there is a calling upon your life. And God wants you to ask him this question, "Lord, what do you want me to do?" You see, whether you're a side of the supporters of Trump or whether you're not, you have to come to the place of recognizing that No one person can make this country amazing and great. Each and every one of us have to play our part. We all have to get up in the morning. We all have to do our responsibility. So never believe that one man is going to be able to change everything. One man can do a lot of good and one man can do a lot of destruction. And I hope to God and I pray for Donald Trump that he is a man who does many great things for our nation. But at the end of the day, we all have to ask ourselves this one very simple question. Lord, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And when you're at that place of asking that question, you can know that you're on the path to healing and personal growth. I want to end this with a quote from a former U.S. President Harry S. Truman. He had a sign on his desk, and the sign simply said this: "The buck stops here." And that's my encouragement to you today. Know this: the buck stops with me. The buck stops with you. The question we have to ask ourselves at this point in time, when you get to that place of acceptance and understanding, is this: Lord, what do you want me to do? And when you have that answer, you're only obligated to fulfill what God says for you to do. God bless you today. Have a wonderful weekend. Remember, ask yourself this question: Lord, what do you want me to do? And then whatever he tells you, you go and do it, because that's what you're responsible for. God bless you. Let's make the church of God great. Let's make the world a wonderful place to live in. Let's fulfill God's calling on our lives and obey whatever Jesus tells us to do. God bless you. Have a great day.